Good morning. Gloria Liebecker here with Healing You. I've been taking some time reflecting over people that I've supported and the journey that so many of us are on in this life. And one of the things that keeps coming to my mind is how it can be for some of us to really struggle with being able to make decisions. And to many other of us, that just seems like no big deal. And yet, what is it, do you imagine, that makes the difference between those two ways of perception? I believe that, at least in my experience, it's caused by some developmental trauma. It could be a type of neglect that happened in life when one was growing and coming into themselves. If we weren't really attended to in those subtle ways that can escape our attention, but really being caught in our experience, and to have the repeated experience of knowing that we matter and that we're found in our distress, or that it's even safe to have distress. Each of those can cause a different type of complexity as our whole nervous system is growing and developing, and we're making all those connections in our brain and our body, and the map of who I am is even being formed by both nature and nurture. So it's true, we all carry epigenetics within us, and we can have generational traumas that are passed down as well. It doesn't have to stay that way, though. It may not be a quick fix, and I really don't know a lasting quick fix, folks. So it's definitely worth the journey. So what might happen when you have a fear of making decisions? Well, you might get scared about whether you can really share how you feel about something or not, because deciding to share is a decision itself. And so for many of us, it can be that we get scared to share because of how we perceive others might see us. So it's this looping thought pattern that our default mode network runs for us repeatedly over and over. And it can grow in its fear, and it can immobilize you. So what might that fear look like? Well, I could be afraid to share transparently, because what I fear will happen when I share transparently. Maybe I'm afraid that I'm afraid how others are going to perceive me. I'm afraid of what they're going to think about me. Some of my worst fears might be that they think, one from my past was, oh, she's a dork. Or, oh, what a baby. Oh, you're just too sensitive. You're over emotional. Why don't you grow up? And the fears can mount. And especially when you feel close to someone, and then you go into this doubt and this worry and this fear that if I decide to share with them what's really going on for me, they might leave me, and then I wouldn't even have a relationship. And so we stuff it down inside of us in our fear. And it's painful. Because for many of us that loop in this dynamic, we're so terrified that we're hopeless. And at times we feel absolutely helpless that it's possible to ever get out of the loop. And we diminish ourselves. We become really little. And in that, it's not just figuratively being little, it's sometimes we go deep inside. And all we have is that voice inside. And we start to believe that it's telling us the truth. So what's the antidote here, folks? I know for me, when I was caught in that spiral dynamic, I needed someone to see me right there with compassion, with warmth and gentleness. Because I was exquisitely tender, and I was like a frightened fawn that would dart off in a heartbeat if I even sensed anything. I was just like heightened alert. And what else can happen when you are seen in that? If you're not seen with compassion, you go into the pain of collapse, so that your body can't feel the pain because it's too enormous. So say someone had the courage to share what they were afraid of, that they're afraid to share, but they share anyway, and they take courage and they do it. And they're met with someone going, oh no, that's not right. You got that wrong. That wasn't about you. That was my experience. You need to be able to differentiate your experience from other people's. Well, that's when the collapse happens. Or a rage can come up inside a person, because who likes to be told they're wrong? So I want to slow it down immediately. I want to create a container with Rumi. I want to sit with you out in the field beyond right and wrong, beyond good or bad. I want to be in a field with you where we can be together. Your experience is held and caught for what it feels like inside of you. When you're received that way, when you have had the courage to share and you didn't get caught. Do you feel hopeless? I might ask, I might make a guess. Do you feel just utterly hopeless and helpless, nearing despair? That anyone in this whole universe could ever catch you with care? That you could begin to have just a little bit of a shift where you could breathe once again? Are you needing trust that somewhere in this world you really do matter and your experience matters? And are you needing to experience somebody just to sit with you right there in your pain for as long as you need to be held? So your body can actually begin to feel that you are being accompanied and you are safe and that you are held in the arms of love. To begin to even tune into the possibility that love can never be separated from you, especially when it feels like it must be. Just to take time with any parts that have spiraled down so far that they're near despair. I want to reach out and let you know you don't need to be alone. There are places in this world that lead from their hearts with compassion. There is support when you need it, when you can find the courage to reach out and ever so slowly allow yourself to discover something different through your experience. Oh, I remember once upon a time in my life when it felt like my life was falling apart. My mother had cancer and it wasn't looking good for her, and I was traveling and doing my best to keep a job and raise my children, and then traveled to the other side of the state to help caretake my mom because I really love her and I wanted to have every moment I could have with her. And yet there were other experiences in my life that really, it was so out of congruence. I was wearing a mask and pretended to be someone I was not, attempting to survive pain that I couldn't even name. And when my mom passed to the other side, I just collapsed. I was done. I was done with this thing called pretending to be something I'm not, and if I don't know who I am, then it's about time I found a way. And I reached out and I found a place. I had a dear friend that opened the door for me to meet with a really gentle therapist. And this woman got me. I feel moved with a wave of emotion I didn't expect, and that's okay. Let's take a pause. When we can be willing to find the courage to allow our tender, fractured parts to be seen and held with compassion by another, and we can choose trust in something greater than ourselves to create that container, miracles can happen. So as I grew in my capacity to trust this other person, after I hadn't trusted anyone for a long, long time, I grew enough to where she said, well, you know, Gloria, maybe you'd want to start participating in some groups. I leaned in and I said, but I feel a lot more safe when I'm just with you. And you know what she did? She leaned in close to me. She goes, yeah, I know, that feels really safe. And that's okay. And when you're ready, would you be willing to look at the groups? Yeah. I mean, to be met right there, I didn't even know that I'd gone down into that position of kind of hiding a little bit. It felt scary to think about letting other people see me. I'd let this one person see me, but to let a group see me, that was a little terrifying. So if that's your experience, I want to encourage you to allow yourself to take your time. There's no hurry. There's no need for pressure. You can begin to trust your own sense, your own felt sense of life. Especially if you can find one person that you begin to trust, and you can keep coming back and making those repairs anytime you feel like there's a rupture inside. It'll help to strengthen that pathway within you for a bedrock of trust you can count on. So, rather than running the tape, or just notice it. Notice the fear. Notice I'm afraid to transparently share because I'm afraid what'll happen when I transparently share. And find one place that you can begin to name that. And notice what happens in your body when you're met with compassion and understanding. And allow your focus to begin to dwell there more and more of that little baby step that you took, that really did make a difference. And breathe into that and notice your body. One little baby step at a time. Especially when you're holding these parts that have felt so helpless and hopeless. I want to acknowledge that those experiences are learned. They're learned from our environments, and they're never on purpose. And there are people that know that. And there are people that hold space for that. Dare to reach out and find them. And choose to trust. Something greater than yourself really does hold all of us on this journey of life. And if you feel moved to reach out, to have a little exploration with me, I would be honored. You can find me at healingYouSanctuary.com. Thanks for being on this journey with me. And may your day be filled with warmth and grace and tenderness each time you need it.